Imagine this. It's Monday morning. You wake up before the alarm. The air is crisp. No chaos, no rush, just clarity. You know exactly what needs to be done, and more importantly, why it matters. There's a sense of control in your chest. A quiet power. This isn't luck. This is discipline. This is what life feels like when you stop reacting and start living by principle. If you've ever craved a week where your mind is sharp, your time is respected, and your actions move you forward with purpose, this video is for you. Because today, we're diving into 9 Stoic habits, not hacks, not tricks, but timeless principles practiced by some of the greatest minds in history. These habits will reshape how you start your day, how you work, how you rest, and ultimately, how you lead yourself. And stay with me until the final habit, because it reveals a truth about one part of your life you've likely ignored. Yet it could be the single most underestimated force behind your energy, focus, and long-term success. Let's get into it. Habit 1. Start your day before excuses take over. The alarm goes off. You open your eyes, but you don't get up. You lie there, scrolling. Just 5 minutes, you tell yourself. But it becomes 30. You're not even reading anything important, you're just avoiding. Avoiding the cold floor, avoiding the decisions of the day, avoiding yourself. You feel heavy, not from sleep, but from something deeper. And maybe you don't say it out loud, but somewhere inside you already know. You've lost the first battle of the day. It seems small, but that snooze button is a symptom. So is checking your phone the second you open your eyes. So is lying in bed, waiting for a reason to move. These are not lazy habits. They are signs of something far more dangerous. You've surrendered your morning to your emotions, not because you're weak, but because you were never taught how to win that moment. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I was made to do the work of a human being.'" This wasn't poetry, it was a strategy. Because the longer you delay rising, the more control you hand over to doubt, to anxiety, to excuses. Most people don't realize this, but your brain isn't looking for comfort. It's looking for clarity, and in the absence of purpose, it clings to whatever is easy. The screen, the blanket, the delay. Not because you're lazy, but because you haven't told your mind what matters more than comfort. If this is you, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're just out of rhythm. You wake up hoping the day will take you somewhere, but deep down, you're tired of being taken for a ride. You want to lead. You want to rise, not just physically, but mentally. You want to feel that you're in charge of your life again. So start small. Put your phone out of reach before bed. Not in your hand, not under your pillow across the room. That one action creates friction. And friction buys you one clear moment, a chance to choose movement over paralysis. Then build on it. Make your bed, drink water, open the window, let light in. No motivation, no perfection, just movement. Those first 5 minutes aren't about success. It's about proof. Proof that you are capable of doing what you said you would. And when you start with that win, the day that follows becomes yours to shape. If you don't change this habit, nothing else will matter. You'll chase focus, discipline, and purpose all day long, but you'll never catch up. Because you gave it away the moment you chose comfort over clarity. But if you take it back, Just the first 10 minutes, you'll feel it. A quiet shift. A sense of control that builds slowly into something unshakable. And once you've learned to show up for yourself the moment the day begins, the next challenge becomes not when you act, but where to direct your energy. Let's talk about the second Stoic habit and the power of choosing what truly deserves your time. Habit 2. Focus on the 3 tasks that drive real results. Imagine 2 people starting their day. Both wake up at the same hour. Both sit down to work with coffee in hand. One opens their calendar and immediately begins chipping away at their top priority. No drama, no debate, just deliberate action. The other, they check their inbox, then a group chat, then they color code their to-do list. Hours pass. They feel busy, drained even, but when the day ends, the real work remains untouched. Which one are you? Here's the hard truth. Most people aren't lazy. They're lost in distraction disguised as productivity. You might feel busy all day, checking off small tasks, but deep down, you know you're avoiding the work that actually matters. The one thing that scares you, the project that could move your life forward, but also confront your self-doubt. Why do we avoid it? Because our brain craves completion. It wants to feel accomplished, so it clings to low-hanging tasks, the easy wins. But over time, that behavior builds a life full of motion and void of meaning. You might recognize the signs. You open your laptop with no clear intention. You answer every message, organize files, and maybe even clean your desk. You write 10 things on your to-do list, but not the one thing you've been avoiding all week. You feel exhausted by 5 p.m., but also strangely guilty, like something important was missed. And it was. The real work scares you because it matters, because it exposes your limits, because if you fail at it, you fear it might say something about your worth. So instead, you chase the illusion of control by doing more, just not the right things. But what you truly want isn't more to do. You want clarity, progress. You want to wake up with direction and go to bed knowing your day meant something. And that doesn't come from checking 20 boxes. It comes from doing 3 things well. Here's a simple place to start. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, take 2 minutes to write down the 3 tasks that matter most. Just 3, no more. Choose the ones that scare you a little, the ones that, if finished, would bring a real sense of momentum. And then protect them. Do them first. Let them shape your day, not sit at the bottom of it. This is how you begin to reclaim your time. This is how you break the pattern of avoidance and prove to yourself that you're capable of more than busy work. Because if you don't choose your priorities, distractions will choose them for you. And once your focus is aligned, once you've chosen your battles wisely, the next step is making sure you have the strength to fight them. That's where the third Stoic habit begins. Habit 3. Energize yourself through daily movement. Energize yourself through daily movement. Simple words, but behind them lies a truth we've all felt. When your body is stagnant, your mind follows. When you sit too long, think too hard, and move too little, your thoughts grow heavy, your willpower weakens, and even the smallest tasks start to feel like mountains. You don't need a philosopher to tell you that. You've lived it. We all have. Think of the last time you spent an entire day indoors, hunched over a screen, barely blinking, barely breathing. The fog that built up in your head, the dull ache in your lower back. The moment you stood up, only to realize how stiff, how tired, how strangely disoriented you felt. That's not laziness. That's a body crying out for movement. The Stoics knew this. They didn't have fitness trackers or gym memberships, but they understood something deeper. Energy follows motion. Marcus Aurelius, writing not to impress, but to remind himself, said it plainly. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. How can you honor that privilege if your body stays numb and idle? Movement doesn't need to be heroic. You don't need to train like an athlete or chase six-pack abs. But you do need to move with intention. 10 minutes of stretching in the morning, a brisk walk after lunch, a set of push-ups between tasks. These are not chores. They're signals, reminders to your nervous system that you are alive, capable, in control. I used to dismiss this too. I'd say, I'll work out later, and then later never came. I'd feel sluggish by mid-afternoon, reach for another coffee, open another tab, and try to shake the feeling of stuckness. But what I really needed was not stimulation, it was circulation. So I began small. 5 minutes of movement every 2 hours, a few deep breaths while walking outside, and it changed everything. Not because it burned calories, but because it reset my presence. I returned to my desk sharper, more decisive, more human. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you moved not to lose weight, but to gain clarity? When was the last time you walked, not to get somewhere, but to return to yourself? You don't need more motivation. You need momentum. And motion creates momentum. That is the power of this habit. It doesn't just fuel the body, it clears the mind, centers the spirit, and prepares you to act. So if your week feels like a blur, if your thoughts are cloudy, your mood swings, your patience is thin, ask yourself, have I moved today? Not just physically, but with purpose. Daily movement is not optional for a productive life. It is not vanity. It is vitality. When you neglect your body, you are not just ignoring muscles. You are abandoning the very vessel through which discipline flows. You're saying no to the one thing that could carry your focus further, hold your values stronger, and help you persist when others quit. So move, not for the mirror, not for the metrics, but for the momentum. Walk not just with your feet, but with your full attention. Stretch not just your limbs, but your capacity to show up. And now, I want to hear from you. What's one simple movement you can commit to this week to sharpen your body and clear your mind? Let me know in the comments. Be specific. Let's make this real. Because action right now is where Stoicism truly begins. Habit 4. Boost clarity and focus with journaling. What happens after you move your body? After the sweat dries and the heart slows down? That's when your real work begins, the work inside, the work of the mind. And one of the most powerful tools ever handed down by Stoic tradition to clarify that inner world is the simple act of journaling. At first glance, it feels almost too ordinary. A pen, a blank page. But in the hands of a disciplined mind, these tools become weapons, cutting through the noise, the clutter, the emotional fog that blinds us from our own potential. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing for fame, followers, or feedback. He was writing to understand, to remind himself of what mattered, to realign with reason when emotion tries to take control. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Ask yourself, when was the last time you were honest, truly honest, with your own thoughts? When did you last stop to ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Why am I anxious? What am I avoiding? Journaling isn't just an emotional dump or a nice-to-have habit. It's how you interrogate your impulses, interrupt self-deception, and come back to your center. Imagine this. You've had a long, messy Tuesday. Distractions everywhere. A meeting ran late. You snapped at someone you care about. You forgot why you started this week with so much fire. But then you open your journal, you breathe, and you write, "Today I felt scattered. I reacted. But tomorrow I return to discipline. I return to stillness." That single page becomes a reset button, a way to meet yourself without judgment, but also without excuses. Journaling makes your thoughts visible, so you can choose which ones to keep and which ones to let go. It's a form of self-leadership, a private mirror where no one is watching but you. And that's what makes it powerful. There's no one to impress, only a standard to rise to. You don't need a fancy notebook or hours of free time. Just 5 minutes. Start with a question. What am I avoiding today? What matters most right now? How do I want to show up this week? Let the answers come. Some days they will be messy. Some days they will be sharp. But every day you write, you sharpen the sword of your awareness. Let me give you something real. I know someone who started journaling every night before bed, just 3 lines. At first it was awkward, forced. But by week 3, he told me this: "It's the first time in years I've actually heard myself think." That's what this practice gives you, a moment of truth in a noisy world. There's a quiet kind of beauty in journaling, the way ink moves across paper, the way your breath slows down, the way time seems to pause for just a moment while you reconnect with what matters. It's not dramatic, it's not performative, but it's real. And real is what changes your life. So if your week feels scattered, if your focus is slipping, if your mind is louder than your actions, pick up the pen, slow down, get clear. Because without clarity, there is no focus. Without focus, there is no direction. And without direction, all your effort becomes noise. Take 5 minutes tonight. No agenda, no filter, just you, the page, and the truth. And once you've written it down, you'll be ready, truly ready, to face the next battle, breaking the cycle of procrastination. Because clarity without action is just another delay in disguise. Let's fix that. Habit 5. Break the cycle of procrastination. Today, you know what you need to do, but you scroll anyway. Then you feel bad. Then you scroll again. Then you repeat. This is the trap. Not dramatic, not loud, just silent, consistent and slow. It's not failing a big test or missing a life-changing opportunity. It's smaller than that. It's walking past the laundry you meant to fold 2 days ago. It's telling yourself you'll write that email after lunch, and then after dinner, and then tomorrow morning for sure. It's watching the hours slide by while your mind whispers, just not right now. You're not lazy. That's not the real problem. You're tired of disappointing yourself. You're tired of making silent promises and breaking them by the afternoon. And somewhere inside, you're scared because each time you avoid doing what matters, a part of you starts to believe, this is who you are now. But it's not. This is your brain doing what it's wired to do. Avoid discomfort. It sees effort, risk, or even mild uncertainty and hits the brakes. It offers you something easier, a distraction, a snack, a nap, a sudden urge to clean your entire desk. Not because it's more important, but because it feels safer. The task you're avoiding. It's often tied to identity, growth, or fear of failure. That's why it's hard. And when you delay that kind of action, it doesn't just sit quietly in the corner. It grows heavier, like an unopened message that builds pressure with every passing hour. You carry it from morning to night, wondering why you're so exhausted, even though you've barely done anything meaningful. Let's get real. You've told yourself, "I'll start after lunch." You didn't. You said, "I'll start fresh tomorrow." You didn't. You said, "Next week I'll be more disciplined." But deep down, you don't believe that anymore, do you? That's the real pain. You've stopped trusting your own word. And that's what we're here to fix. Not with big declarations, but with action. Immediate, small, unsexy, clear action. Here's what you do right now. Stand up. Pick one task. One, not five. Not all the things. Just the one you've been circling for days. Don't plan it. Don't organize your desk first. Don't wait for motivation. Just start it. For 2 minutes. One sentence written, one phone call made, one paragraph read, one tab closed. Because what matters isn't how much you do. What matters is that you do it even when you don't feel like it. That's Stoicism in practice. That's building the muscle of agency, of doing the right thing, especially when your emotions scream no. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." But let's add to that, if it is right, and you know it is, then do it. Especially when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's small. That's when it matters most. Because you're not trying to become superhuman. You're trying to be someone you respect when the day ends. Someone who says, "I did what I said I would." That's how you rebuild trust. Not in the world, in yourself. And here's the gift. When you take action, no matter how small, something shifts. Your posture, your voice, your energy. You stand a little taller, not because of what you did, but because of who you became by doing it. So if you're still here with me, watching, listening, thinking, you've already done more than most. You've chosen to stay. You didn't scroll past your own growth. Take a moment to breathe that in. You're halfway through. And that matters. If this message spoke to something inside you, tap like, not for me, but as a signal to yourself that you're serious about this. And stay with me. The next habits will show you how to protect your energy, sharpen your focus, and master the simple, hidden lever that most people never touch. Let's keep going. Habit 6. Invest time in learning and growth. How many videos have you started but never finished? How many books are sitting half-read on your shelf? How many times have you said, "I need to learn this," only to let another week slip by with nothing to show for it? Be honest. You're not lazy, you're not broken, but you are stuck. Stuck in a cycle of stimulation without depth. You consume content, but you don't absorb. You start learning, but you don't continue. You crave growth, but your mind has been hijacked by short bursts of shallow focus, and now even sitting still with one idea feels like a chore. And it's not your fault entirely. Your brain has been rewired for quick hits of novelty. That endless flick, scroll, swipe, It's teaching your nervous system to chase variety instead of mastery. So when you finally try to focus on something meaningful, an important skill, a challenging idea, a long-form course, your mind runs. It searches for an escape. Not because it's too hard, but because you've been training it to run from silence and depth. And what does that cost you? It costs you momentum, confidence, a sense of progress, that quiet pride of ending your day knowing you've become just a little more capable than you were yesterday. It's not the big things that break us. It's the accumulation of small inactions, the mental fatigue of wanting to grow but never quite moving forward. That's the real pain, isn't it? Seeing people around you evolve while you feel like you're standing still, watching, pretending, numbing. But here's the truth. You don't need a massive change. You don't need to quit your job or go back to school. You just need to rewire your system, slowly, one small shift at a time. So start here. Today, pick one idea to go deeper into. Just one, not 5 books, not 3 tutorials, one topic. Give it 30 minutes of your full attention, no tabs, no multitasking. Bring a notebook, write something down, reflect, not because someone told you to, but because your future self desperately needs you to start showing up now. And when you do it again tomorrow and the next day, you'll begin to notice something strange. Focus returns. Curiosity grows stronger. Confidence creeps back in. The fog begins to lift. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom, like strength, is earned through repetition, through attention, through choosing growth even when no one's watching. So don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for motivation. Build the habit of learning like your life depends on it, because it does. And once you've fed the mind, there's something else most people forget to feed: their energy. Because even the sharpest mind fails if it's constantly exhausted. That's why habit 7 is so often ignored, but it might be the one thing keeping you from your next breakthrough. Let's talk about it. Habit 7. Recharge with intentional breaks. You tell yourself you'll rest when the work is done, but the work is never done, is it? So you keep pushing, eyes burning, back stiff, mind cloudy. You pause to take a break, but what does that really look like? You check your phone, scroll through noise. Maybe you stand up, walk a few steps, then sit back down, unchanged. Your body's still tense, your head's still loud, and deep down, there's this nagging thought: why am I always so tired, even when I don't do that much? It's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're broken, it's because you've never truly learned how to rest. Not escape, not numb, not distract. Rest. Most people confuse distraction with recovery, but Stoicism teaches us that recovery is a skill, one that demands presence, not avoidance. Seneca said, "We should take wandering outdoor walks so that the mind might be nourished and refreshed by the open air and deep breathing." This isn't ancient wisdom locked in time. This is something you can feel today, right now. Think about this. When was the last time you stepped away from your desk and truly let yourself breathe? No screen, no noise, just a short walk or a quiet sit in your own presence. Most people can't remember. That's the problem. We've wired ourselves to feel guilty for resting. Or worse, we rest in all the wrong ways. We lie down, but our minds race. We pause from work, but flood ourselves with stimulation. What we really need is a deep, intentional pause, a reset that reaches the nervous system, not just the schedule. Start small. Stand up right now. Walk slowly to the window. Look outside. Take 5 deep breaths, slow, real breaths. Notice the tension in your jaw. Let it drop. That's it. You just practiced real rest. It took 2 minutes. But your brain will thank you for hours. Now imagine building this into your day. Once in the morning. Once in the afternoon. Not as a luxury, but as a discipline. Because that's what Stoic rest is. The discipline to stop with purpose so you can return stronger. If you keep grinding without rhythm, your energy will betray you when you need it most. You'll become a shell that functions but doesn't feel. You'll finish your days without memory, your weeks without growth. You'll wonder why you feel so disconnected from your goals, even though you're working non-stop. But if you learn to rest, truly rest, everything sharpens. You begin to move with clarity. You recover faster. You make better decisions. You show up, not just physically, but fully. You don't need more hours. You need more intentional pauses. So take the walk, make the tea, sit in stillness. Let your breath catch up to your ambition. Because it's not laziness that holds you back. It's exhaustion. And if you want to master your energy, first you must learn to protect it. And from that place of quiet strength, you're ready for the next step. Habit 8. Master your day with self-control. Master your day with self-control, but not in the cold, robotic way the word might suggest. What we're talking about is a living discipline, one that meets you exactly where you are, overwhelmed, overstimulated, and often overstretched by a life you feel you should already have control over. Let's start with the truth. Most people don't lose their day in a dramatic collapse. They lose it in tiny leaks, the silent scroll at breakfast, the third time you've said, "I'm just too tired today," the gossip you joined in on, the frustration you let slip out as sarcasm. You lose it every time you react before thinking, every time you believe that feeling something justifies doing something, and you tell yourself, "I'll get better, eventually." But eventually never comes, because you haven't built the muscle of self-control. Why? Not because you're lazy, but because your brain has been trained for years to chase relief over resolve. Complaints feel like control. Impulses feel like urgency. Speaking without pausing feels like honesty. But none of these serve your deeper goals. Your real desire isn't to get through the day. It's to move through it with clarity, direction, and dignity. You want to feel like you're showing up as the version of yourself who chooses, not reacts. The one who can sit in discomfort without needing to escape it. So what's really holding you back? Not the people around you, not the tasks in front of you, but the unexamined behaviors have become default settings. Let's look at a few. You complain when things get hard, not because you're negative, but because your brain's trying to release pressure. Stoicism says, pressure is a signal, not an excuse. Instead of saying, "This is unfair," say, "What can I do next?" You snap at others, not because you're mean, but because you're tired and your nervous system is overloaded. Stoicism teaches, pause, breathe, then respond. Even a 3-second delay can change the outcome of a moment and your entire day. You expect everything to go smoothly because you're craving peace. But Stoics prepared for volatility on purpose. They didn't expect life to cooperate. They trained for it not to. Try this. Every morning say to yourself, today people will interrupt me, delays will happen, and not everything will go as planned, and I will respond with grace. And the voice inside your head, the one that says you're failing again, replace it with, I'm learning to do this differently now. That's the Stoic way. You're not broken. You're in training. So where do you start? Here's something small and immediate. Choose one moment today to say nothing. When you feel the urge to vent or defend or correct, don't. Just notice the urge. Breathe. Let the silence settle. That pause is the crack where self-mastery enters. From there, you can build stronger habits, setting intentions each morning instead of reacting. Practicing premeditatio malorum, mentally rehearsing potential disruptions. Speaking less, but with more weight. Rewriting your internal script when you fall short, not punishing yourself for being human. Because if you don't learn to master yourself, the world will do it for you through noise, urgency, manipulation, and fatigue. And you'll keep wondering why you feel like a stranger in your own life. But if you do, if you pause, breathe, and choose, you'll start to feel a power most people never know: ownership. And that ownership, that quiet, stable core, needs one final protector: rest. Not hustle disguised as rest. No phone time in bed, but deep, undisturbed, intentional sleep. Habit 9. Power your success with restful sleep. True sleep is the most stoic of all acts because it requires surrender. Not to laziness, not to comfort, but to nature itself. In a world where people worship productivity and wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, choosing to rest deeply is an act of rebellion. But the Stoic doesn't chase exhaustion. He conserves energy like a warrior sharpening his blade. Why? Because without rest, your ability to respond instead of react, your capacity to pause, breathe, and choose disappears. Think about it. How easy is it to lose control of your tongue, your impulses, your expectations when you're running on 4 hours of broken sleep and 2 cups of caffeine? How often do we snap, not because the situation demands it, but because we're just too tired to hold ourselves together? The truth is, fatigue makes philosophers into fools. No journal, no morning routine, no plan survives the collapse of the body. And for the Stoic, who seeks to govern himself, that collapse is unacceptable. Because self-mastery depends on clear perception, and perception fogs without recovery. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire while enduring chronic pain and war, wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less. Or do what's essential. Do it well and stop. Most of what we say and do is not essential." Sleep is essential. It is not indulgence. It is your foundation. But this habit is not just about going to bed earlier. It's about how you prepare your mind to let go. It's about the moment you lie down and your brain starts spinning. The replaying of conversations, the made-up arguments, the mental checklists you never finished. That's the moment Stoicism becomes real. Do you spiral into complaint, or do you return to breath? Do you curse the day, or do you quietly reflect? I'm learning to respond differently. In that moment, when you're lying in the dark, exhausted but wired, you practice Stoicism by practicing surrender. You don't force sleep. You create the conditions for it. Silence, stillness, no screens, no drama. You guide your thoughts like a parent guiding a child, gently, firmly, back to peace. Here's a small but powerful practice. 1 hour before bed, turn off all devices. Sit in quiet. Write down your thoughts if they're noisy. Then whisper to yourself like a mantra, "I've done what I can. The rest is not mine tonight." That's Stoic sleep. Sleep that honors what you can control and releases what you can't. Imagine waking up after a night like that. Your chest feels open. Your mind is clear. The day hasn't even begun, but already you are ahead because you're not starting in a deficit. Your self-control, your clarity, your willpower, they all begin not at sunrise, but the night before. So here's the challenge. Tonight, sleep like a Stoic. Not by force, not by trick, but by choice. Protect your peace, guard your energy, and rest, not because you're weak, but because tomorrow demands your strength. The lesson we just explored marks the final step in today's journey. A journey not just through productivity hacks or morning routines, but through the kind of inner discipline that builds a life you can respect. You've seen it now, 9 Stoic habits that don't scream for attention, but change you quietly from the inside out. They start where most people never look, in how you wake up, in how you move your body, in how you speak to yourself when no one else is listening, in what you choose to tolerate, and what you no longer allow. Because maybe, like so many others, you've been feeling scattered, always doing, rarely progressing, tired but restless, busy but disconnected, wanting more but not knowing what more actually means. That's not a weakness. That's a sign you're ready. Ready to stop running from yourself. Ready to stop calling survival success. Ready to live with purpose. And that begins not with pressure, but with a choice. So choose one. Just one habit from this journey. Start small. Maybe it's closing your laptop at a certain hour. Maybe it's walking without your phone. Perhaps it's sleeping like someone who actually values tomorrow. Do it for 1 day, then 2, then a week. And watch what happens, not in the world outside you, but inside. You'll feel your discipline return. You'll hear your mind clear. And most of all, you'll start to recognize yourself again. The version of you that's still in there, waiting to be honored. And if this video helped light that fire, share it with someone else who's lost in the noise. Someone who's tired of feeling tired. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but for yourself. Because this channel isn't about chasing success. It's about becoming solid inside. Calm, clear, unshakable. You don't need to rush. You just need to return to what matters. One choice, one habit, one powerful week at a time. And if no one's told you this in a while, you're not broken. You're just distracted. Come back. You're stronger than you remember.